This is Informer News, your voice of the people. Timeline is Sunday, the 2nd of August 2015. Welcome along, my friends, to another edition of the Informer News, the monthly special report. Coming up in this month's broadcast, outstanding images of the second sun. These images are proof beyond any shadow of a doubt that there is a second sun, which I believe is Nemesis, NIBIRU's dwarf star. Plus MAJESTIC 12, the hidden history you're not being told about. And attention, NIBIRU is coming. Confirmation from my alien hybrid source that the Nemesis NIBIRU system is real, and a warning to the people of this planet: when NIBIRU and Nemesis gets here, humans will probably die of heart attacks because it is incomprehensibly large. Okay, into this month's Informer News special report. This first report originates from cs.mcgill.ca, titled Majestic 12, The Secret Government, by the late William Cooper, who was taken out by the elite's assassination squad. Before Majestic 12. During the years following World War II, the government of the United States was confronted with a series of events which were to change beyond prediction its future, and with it the future of humanity. These events were so incredible that they defied belief. A stunned President Truman and his top military commanders found themselves virtually impotent after having just won the most devastating and costly war in history. The United States had developed, used, and was the only nation on Earth in possession of the atomic bomb, which alone had the potential to destroy any enemy and even the Earth itself. At that time, the United States had the best economy, the most advanced technology, the highest standard of living, exerted the most influence, and fielded the largest and most powerful military forces in history. We can only imagine the confusion and concern when the informed elite of the United States government discovered that an alien spacecraft piloted by insect-like beings from a totally incomprehensible culture had crashed in the deserts of New Mexico. Between January 1947 and December 1952, at least 16 crashed or downed alien craft, 65 alien bodies and one alive alien was recovered. An additional alien craft had exploded and nothing was recovered from that incident. Of these incidents, 13 occurred within the borders of the United States, not including the craft which disintegrated in the air. Of these 13, one was in Arizona, 11 were in New Mexico, and one was in Nevada. 3 occurred in foreign countries. Of those, one was in Norway, and the last 2 were in Mexico. Sightings of UFOs were so numerous that serious investigations and debunking of each report became impossible, utilizing the existing intelligence assets. Alien Earth presence. An alien craft was found on February 13, 1948 on a mesa near Aztec, New Mexico. Another craft was located on March 25, 1948 in Hart Canyon near Aztec, New Mexico. It was 100 feet in diameter. A total of 17 alien bodies were recovered from those 2 crafts. Of even greater significance was the discovery of a large number of human body parts stored within both of these vehicles. A demon had reared its ugly head, and paranoia quickly took hold of everyone then in the know. The secret lid immediately became an above-top secret lid and was screwed down tight. The security blanket was even tighter than that imposed upon the Manhattan Project. In the coming years, these events were to become the most closely guarded secrets in the history of the world. A special group of America's top scientists were organized, and a program under the name Project Sign was created in December of 1947 to study the phenomena. The whole nasty business was contained within the shroud of secrecy. Project Sign evolved into Project Grudge in December of 1948, a low-level collection and disinformation project named Blue Book was formed under Grudge. 16 volumes were to come out of Grudge, including the controversial Grudge 13, which I and Bill English saw, read and revealed to the public. Blue teams were put together to recover the crashed discs and dead or alive aliens. The blue teams were later to evolve into alpha teams under Project Pounce and Project Pluto. During these early years, the United States Air Force and the CIA exercised complete control over the alien secret. In fact, the CIA was formed by presidential executive order, first as a Central Intelligence Group for the express purposes of dealing with the alien presence. Later, the National Security Act (NSA) was established to oversee the intelligence community and especially the alien endeavor. A series of National Security Council memos and executive orders removed the CIA from the sole task of gathering foreign intelligence and slowly but thoroughly legalized direct action in the form of covert activities at home and abroad. Intelligence gathering. On December the 9th, 1947, Truman approved issuance of NSC-4 entitled Coordination of Foreign Intelligence Information Measures at the urging of Secretaries Marshall, Forrestal, Patterson and the Director of the State Department's Policy Planning Staff, Kennan. The Foreign and Military Intelligence Book 1 final report of the Select Committee to study governmental operations with respect to intelligence activities, United States Senate, 94th Congress, 2nd Session, Report Number 94755, April 26, 1976, page 49, states, "This directive empowered the Secretary of State to coordinate overseas information activities designed to counter communism." A top-secret annex to NSC-4, NSC-4A, instructed the Director of Central Intelligence to undertake covert psychological activities in pursuit of the aims set forth in NSC-4. The initial authority given the CIA for covert operations under NSC-4A did not establish formal procedures for either coordinating or approving these operations. It simply directed a DCI to undertake covert actions and ensure through liaison with state and defense that the resulting operations were consistent with American policy. Later, NSC-10-1 and NSC-10-2 were to supersede NSC-4 and NSC-4A and expand the covert abilities even further. The Office of Policy Coordination, OPC, was chartered to carry out an expanded program of covert activities. NSC-10-1 and NSC-10-2 validated illegal and extra-legal practices and procedures as being agreeable to the national security leadership. The reaction was swift. In the eyes of the intelligence community, no holds were barred. Under NSC-10-1, an executive coordinating group was established to review but not approve covert project proposals. The CG was secretly tasked to coordinate the alien projects. NSC-10-1 and NSC-10-2 were interpreted to mean that no one at the top wanted to know about anything until it was over and successful. These actions established a buffer between the president and the information. It was intended that this buffer serves as a means for the President to deny knowledge if leaks divulge the true state of affairs. This buffer was used in later years for the purpose of effectively isolating succeeding presidents from the knowledge of the alien presence, other than what the secret government and the intelligence community wanted them to know. NSC 10-2 established a study panel which met secretly and was made up of scientific minds of the day. The study panel was not called Majestic 12. Another NSC memo, NSC 10-5, further outlined the duties of the study panel. These NSC memos and secret executive orders set the stage for the creation of Majestic 12 only 4 years later. First victim of the cover-up. Secretary of Defense James Forrestal began to object to the secrecy. He was a very idealistic and religious man who believed that the public should be told. When he began to talk to leaders of the opposition party and leaders of Congress about the alien problem, he was asked to resign by Truman. He expressed his fears to many people and rightfully believed that he was being watched. This was interpreted by those who were ignorant of the facts as paranoia. Forrestal later was said to have suffered a mental breakdown and was admitted to Bethesda Naval Hospital. In fact, it was feared that Forrestal would begin to talk again, and he had to be isolated and discredited. Sometime in the early morning of May the 22nd, 1949, agents of the CIA tied a sheet around his neck, fastened the other end to a fixture in his room, and threw James Forrestal out of the window. The sheet tore and he plummeted to his death. He became one of the first victims of the cover-up. EBE. The live alien that had been taken from the 1947 Roswell crash was named EBE. The name had been suggested by Dr. Vannevar Bush and was short for extraterrestrial biological entity. EBE had a tendency to lie, and for over a year would give only the desired answer to questions asked. Those questions which would have resulted in an undesirable answer went unanswered. At some point during the second year of captivity, he began to open up, and the information derived from EBE was startling, to say the least. This compilation of his revelations became the foundation of what would later be called the Yellow Book. Photographs were taken of EBE, which among others I and Bill were to view years later in Grudge 13. In late 1951, EBE became ill. Medical personnel had been unable to determine the cause of EBE's illness and had no background from which to draw. EBE's system was chlorophyll based, and he processed food into energy much the same as plants. Waste material was excreted the same as plants. It was decided that an expert on botany was called for. A botanist, Dr. Guillermo Mendoza, was brought in to try and help him recover. Dr. Mendoza worked to save EBE until mid-1952, when EBE died. Dr. Mendoza became an expert on alien biology. In a futile attempt to save EBE and to gain favor with this technologically superior alien race, the United States began broadcasting a call for help early in 1952 into the vast regions of space. The call went unanswered, but the project continued as an effort of good faith. Creation of the NSA. President Truman created the super-secret National Security Agency by secret executive order on November 4th, 1952. Its primary purpose was to decipher the alien communications and language and establish a dialogue with the aliens. This most urgent task was a continuation of the earlier efforts and was codenamed codenamed Sigma. The secondary purpose of the NSA was to monitor all communications and emissions from any and all devices worldwide for the purpose of gathering intelligence, both human and alien, and to contain the secrets of the alien presence. Project Sigma was successful. The NSA also maintained communications with the lunar base and other secret space programs. By executive order, the NSA is exempt from all laws which do not specifically name the NSA in the text of the law as being subject to that law. That means that if the agency is not spelled out in the text of any and every law passed by the Congress, it is not subject to that or those laws. The NSA now performs many other duties and in fact is the premier agency within the intelligence community. Today, NSA receives 75% of the money allotted to the intelligence community. The old saying, where the money goes, therein the power resides, is true. The DCI today is a figurehead maintained as a public ruse. The primary task of the NSA is still alien communications, but now includes other alien projects as well. President Truman had been keeping our allies, including the Soviet Union, informed of the developing alien problem since the Roswell recovery. This had been done in case the aliens turned out to be a threat to the human race. Plans were formulated to defend the Earth in case of invasion. Great difficulty was encountered in maintaining international secrecy. It was decided that an outside group was necessary to coordinate and control international efforts in order to hide the secret from the normal scrutiny of governments by the press. The result was the formation of a secret society known as the Bilderbergers. The headquarters of this group is in Geneva, Switzerland. The Bilderbergers evolved into a secret world government that now controls everything. The United Nations was then and is now an international joke. A new president. In 1953, a new man occupied the White House. He was a man used to structured staff organization with a chain of command. His method was to delegate authority and rule by committee. He made major decisions, but only when his advisors were unable to come to consensus. His normal method was to read through or listen to several alternatives and then approve one. Those who work closely with him have stated that his favorite comment was, "Just do whatever it takes." He spent a lot of time on the golf course. This was not all unusual for a man who had been career army with the ultimate position of Supreme Allied Commander during the war, a post which carried 5 stars along with it. This president was General of the Army Dwight David Eisenhower. During his first year in office, 1953, at least 10 more alien crash discs were recovered, along with 26 dead and 4 live aliens. Of the 10, 4 were found in Arizona, 2 in Texas, 1 in New Mexico, 1 in Louisiana, and 1 in Montana, and 1 in South Africa. There were hundreds of sightings. Eisenhower knew that he had to wrestle and beat the alien problem. He knew that he could not do it by revealing the secret to the Congress. Early in 1953, the new president turned to his friend and fellow member of the Council on Foreign Relations, Nelson Rockefeller, for help with the alien problem. Eisenhower and Rockefeller began planning the secret structure of alien task supervision, which was to become a reality within 1 year. The idea for MAJESTIC 12 was thus born. It was Nelson's uncle, Winthrop Aldrich, who had been crucial in convincing Eisenhower to run for president. The whole Rockefeller family, and with them the Rockefeller Empire, had solidly backed Ike, asking asking Rockefeller for help with the alien problem was to be the biggest mistake Eisenhower ever made for the future of the United States and most probably all of humanity. Within 1 week of Eisenhower's election, he had appointed Nelson Rockefeller chairman of a Presidential Advisory Committee on Government Organization. Rockefeller was responsible for planning the reorganization of the government. New Deal programs went into one single cabinet position called the Department of Health, Education and Welfare. When the Congress approved the new cabinet position in April of 1953, Nelson was named to the post of Undersecretary to the Averter Culp Hobby. Heading for Earth. In 1953, astronomers discovered large objects in space which were moving towards Earth. It was first believed that they were asteroids. Later evidence proved that the objects could only be spaceships. Project Sigma intercepted alien radio communications. When the objects reached the Earth, they took up a very high orbit around the equator. There were several huge ships, and their actual intent was unknown. Project Sigma and a new Project Plato, through radio communication using the computer binary language, was able to arrange a landing that resulted in face-to-face contact with alien beings from another planet. Project Plato was tasked with establishing diplomatic relations with this alien race of space aliens. In the meantime, a race of human-like aliens contacted the US government. This alien group warned us against the aliens that were orbiting the equator and offered to help us with our spiritual developments. They demanded that we dismantle and destroy our nuclear weapons as the major condition. They refused to exchange technology, citing that we were spiritually unable to handle technology which we then possessed. They believed that we would use any new technology to destroy each other. This race stated that we were on a path of self-destruction and we must stop killing each other, stop polluting the earth and stop raping the earth's natural resources, and learn to live in harmony. These terms were met with extreme suspicion, especially the major condition of nuclear disarmament. It was believed that meeting that condition would leave us helpless in the race of an obvious alien threat. We also had nothing in history to help with the decision. Nuclear disarmament was not considered to be within the best interest of the United States. The overtures were rejected. Later in 1954, the race of large-nosed grey aliens which had been orbiting the Earth landed at Holloman Air Force Base. A basic agreement was reached. This race identified themselves as originating from a planet around a red star in the constellation of Orion, which we call Betelgeuse. They stated that their planet was dying and that at some unknown future time they wouldn't be able to survive there. This led to a second landing at Edwards Air Force Base. The historical event had been planned in advance and details of the treaty had been agreed upon. Eisenhower arranged to be in Palm Springs on vacation. On the appointed day, the president was spirited away to the base and the excuse was given to the press that he was visiting a dentist. Formal treaty signed. President Eisenhower met with the aliens and a formal treaty between the alien nation and the United States of America was signed. We then received our first alien ambassador from outer space. His name and title was His Omnipotent Highness Krill, pronounced Krill. In the American tradition of disdain for royal titles, he was secretly called Original Hostage Krill. You should know that the alien flag is known as the trilateral insignia. It is displayed on their crafts and worn on their uniforms. Both of these landings and the second meeting meeting were filmed. The films exist today. The treaty stated the aliens will not interfere in our affairs and we will not interfere in theirs. We will keep their presence on Earth a secret. They would furnish us with advanced technology and would help us in our technological developments. They would not make any treaty with any other Earth nation. They could abduct humans on a limited and periodic basis for the purpose of medical experimentation and monitoring of our developments, with the stipulation that the humans would not be harmed, would be returned to their point of abduction, that the humans would have no memory of the events, and that the alien nation would furnish Majestic 12 a list of all human contacts and abductees on a regular, scheduled basis. It was agreed that each nation would receive the ambassador of the other for as long as the treaty remained in force. It was further agreed that the alien nation and the United States would exchange 16 personnel each to the other with the purpose of learning each of the other. Underground bases. The alien guests would remain on Earth and the human guests would travel to the alien point of origin for a specified period of time, then return, at which point a reverse exchange would be made. It was also agreed that bases would be constructed underground for the use of the alien nation, and 2 bases would be constructed for the joint use of alien nation and the United States government. Exchange of technology would take place in the jointly occupied bases. These alien bases would be constructed under Indian reservations in the 4 corner areas of Utah, New Mexico, Arizona and Colorado, and 1 would be constructed in Nevada in the area known as S4, located approximately 7 miles south of the western border of Area 51. All alien bases are under complete control of the Department of Naval Intelligence, and all personnel who work in these complexes receive their checks from the Navy. Construction of the bases began immediately, but progress was slow until large amounts of money were made available in 1957. Work continued on the Yellow Book. Area 51 and S4. Project Red Light was formed and experimentations in test flying alien crafts was begun in earnest. A super top secret facility was built at Groom Lake in Nevada in the midst of the weapons test range. It was codenamed Dreamland. The installation was placed under the Department of Navy, and clearance of all personnel required Q clearance as well as executive presidential approval. This is ironic due to the fact that the President of the United States does not have clearance to visit the site. The alien base and exchange of technology actually took place in an area known as S4. Area S4 was codenamed the Dark Side of the Moon. The Army was tasked to form a super secret organization to furnish security for all alien task projects. This organization became the National Reconnaissance Organization based at Fort Carson, Colorado. The specific teams trained to secure the projects were called Delta. A second project codenamed Snowbird was promulgated to explain away any sightings of the red light crafts as being Air Force experiments. The Snowbird crafts were manufactured using conventional technology and were flown for the press on several occasions. Project Snowbird was also used to debunk legitimate public sightings of alien crafts, UFOs. Project Snowbird was very successful and reports from the public declined steadily until recent years. To view the full transcript, go to my website endtimes23.com, where I've posted a link. There's a live link to my website near the end of this video. Now these images I'm posting behind me now are of the second sun, were sent to me by Christine Burton. These images were taken at sunrise from Louisiana, the United States of America. I believe these images give concrete proof that the dwarf star Nemesis is fast approaching our system, and once it gets close enough, its huge magnetic pull on NIBIRU will take over from the gravitational lock that the Sun now has on NIBIRU. Once this lock is broken, then NIBIRU will start to leave the inner solar system, where it has been since 2003, on its journey towards its own dwarf star Nemesis, and on its way out of the system will fly by Earth and cause a major geological pole shift that in turn will cause a biblical flood to hit our planet with untold loss of human life, as has happened to many previous flybys of NIBIRU, which has destroyed at least 5 civilizations in the past. And finally, my alien hybrid source has authorized me to release this following statement on their behalf. Nemesis, NIBIRU system is real. What humans are now seeing is the forwardmost planets or moons, depending on what you want to call them. When NIBIRU and Nemesis gets here, you humans will probably die of a heart attack because it is so incomprehensibly large, and you have been brainwashed not to believe things like this can happen, but they do. Now only a small portion of the forward debris will start to come in. It has already started to come in, and these are the increase in meteors you are seeing. We will use very large plasma explosions or energy waves to deflect them away from the Earth. This will also make the big pieces of debris smaller, but some will get through. We do not know how long it will take for the humans to shut down the food distributions. We recommend all humans support themselves and their neighbours who do not have any resources to help themselves. If we see humans hoarding and not sharing, we will allow all the debris to hit Earth. We say this because for the humans above ground to make it, if they are lucky enough to not be hit by the debris and devastation, then the only way they will make it is if they all work together. They must protect themselves against human on human aggression, as it will take 6 months for the UN troops to get to all cities in the world and stabilize things. Therefore, all humans will need food, water, guns, ammunition, and especially medicines, including antibiotics. Most importantly, they must learn how to be self-sufficient and grow their own food, and this has not been done in many countries for over 100 years. Also, there are many in the alternate media who are watching the movements of the elite, and they believe they can discover when things are going to get bad when they notice the disappearance of all these people. Do not bet on this, because there is a very well coordinated plan to get the wealthy elite underground and noticed in a very short time. The immediate martial law will be declared. We have instructed all governments to place their nuclear facilities in stand-down mode at a certain time, but some will not do what we ask, and we will be monitoring this. The elite see money, and that is all. They believe they will have their Eden back when most of the humans are dead, but this is quite incorrect. Let people know NIBIRU is a real planetary system. There are 7 planets called the 7 deadly sister sins. Ask your human friends, would it not be better to stock up and be wrong than it would be to bury your heads in the sand and be right? All that would happen if they were wrong is they would not have to go to the grocery store, and they would be eating a better diet and becoming healthier by eating grains, etc. Yes, a great cataclysm is coming, and we will not be able to stop it. We will remove, as one of the truthful statements in your Bible says, 144,000 off of each continent. There are 7 species of humans, and you know them already. White Europeans, African black, Asian, Indian, etc., including mulatto. This is the most difficult decision I have ever made in my life here, and I do believe it is the correct one. Please issue this notice for people to get ready, and it is time for them to make a decision to help themselves and not always rely on someone else to bail them out. There are over 40 million people living off of the USA government, and this is not what was intended. But your corrupt leaders have made this the only way, so they can control you, so we are helping. This is your chance to free yourselves. If you survive, the one thing we will promise is that they will have no elite to worry about when it passes, as we will deal with them all by ourselves. End of statements. Also, the hybrid alien source asked me to remind you that whether NIBIRU Nemesis debris hits Earth and causes earthquakes, volcanoes, the elite may still use the helium and methane they pumped in the San Andreas, Yellowstone, New Madrid, Mid-Atlantic, Indian Pacific Rim of fire as a universal depopulation agenda. You and all humans will see a steady increase in all of these activities, because if we stop the debris and no humans ever sees it, they will still blame this on NIBIRU. The alien hybrid source also issued this following warning about MERS, stating it's a false flag event staged by the powers that be. We found this virus many years ago before it made any human news. We took it directly out of the USA CDC's database when it had a 65% mortality rate on humans in a Mideast country where it was first detected. They are now issuing a warning after beta testing it for 3 years in the Mideast. They claim it came from a camel or herd of camels, which is camel shit. This is 100% human made. If it was a natural event, and when we found it back in 2011 being tested and warned humans to wake up, this lab-made virus would have continued to grow exponentially until now. Instead, what it did was slow to a near stop, then all of a sudden blow up in 16 different countries. They will use other ones and blame it on NIBIRU, which is all 100% crap, just like blaming CERN for the earthquakes, which are mostly human made by the powers that be and takes all of 10 seconds. The problem with humans, if they do not see something, they assume the technology does not exist. Nothing could be further from the truth. Okay, my friends, you're all invited to join this channel by subscribing to End Times 23, which is a totally free subscription service. You're also invited to add me as a friend on Facebook and follow me on Twitter and join my Google Plus timeline. All this week's news links can be found on my website, endtimes23.com. There's a live link to my website near the end of this video. Well, that's your lot for this month's Informer News special report, my friends. So until next month at the same time, this is your Informer signing off, friends. I'll see you on the flip side. That the Nemesis NIBIRU system is real, and a warning to the people of this planet: when NIBIRU and Nemesis gets here, humans will probably die of heart attacks because it is incomprehensibly large. Okay, into this month's Informer News special reports. This first report originates from cs.mcgill.ca, titled Majestic 12, the Secret Government, by the late William Cooper, who was taken out by the elite's assassination squad. Before Majestic 12. During the years following World War II, the government of the United States was confronted with a series of events which were to change beyond prediction its future, and with it the future of humanity. These events were so incredible that they defied belief. A stunned President Truman and his top military commanders found themselves virtually impotent after having just won the most devastating and costly This is Informer News, your voice of the people. Timeline is Sunday, the 2nd of August 2015. Welcome along, my friends, to another edition of the Informer News, the monthly special report. Coming up in this month's broadcast, outstanding images of the second sun. These images are proof beyond any shadow of a doubt that there is a second sun, which I believe is Nemesis, NIBIRU's dwarf star. Plus Majestic 12, the hidden history you're not being told about. And attention, NIBIRU is coming. Confirmation from my alien hybrid source that of even greater significance was the discovery of a large number of human body parts stored within both of these vehicles. A demon had reared its ugly head, and paranoia quickly took hold of everyone then in the know. The secret lid immediately became an above-top secret lid and was screwed down tight. The security blanket was even tighter than that imposed upon the Manhattan Project. In the coming years, these events were to become the most closely guarded secrets in the history of the world. A special group of America's top scientists were organized, and a program under the name Project Sign was created in December of 1947 to study the phenomena. The whole nasty business was contained within the shroud of secrecy. Project Sign evolved into Project Grudge in December of 1948. A low level, nothing was recovered from that incident. Of these incidents, 13 occurred within the borders of the United States, not including the craft which disintegrated in the air. Of these 13, 1 was in Arizona, 11 were in New Mexico, and 1 was in Nevada. 3 occurred in foreign countries. Of those, 1 was in Norway, and the last 2 were in Mexico. Sightings of UFOs were so numerous that serious investigations and debunking of each report became impossible, utilizing the existing intelligence assets. Alien Earth presence. An alien craft was found on February 13, 1948 on a mesa near Aztec, New Mexico. Another craft was located on March 25, 1948 in Harts Canyon near Aztec, New Mexico. It was 100 feet in diameter. A total of 17 alien bodies were recovered from those 2 crafts. War in history. The United States had developed, used, and was the only nation on Earth in possession of the atomic bomb, which alone had the potential to destroy any enemy and even the Earth itself. At that time, the United States had the best economy, the most advanced technology, the highest standard of living, exerted the most influence, and fielded the largest and most powerful military forces in history. We can only imagine the confusion and concern when the informed elite of the United States government discovered that an alien spacecraft piloted by insect-like beings from a totally incomprehensible culture had crashed in the deserts of New Mexico. Between January 1947 and December 1952, at least 16 crashed or downed alien craft, 65 alien bodies and 1 alive alien was recovered. An additional alien craft had exploded and